if I think about toxic ambition, you can strive and you can achieve really great things, but if you're completely burning yourself out, or if you have really shitty relationships, or if you don't have health backing you up, then what's it all for?
Big fucking dreams. All right then. You got this.
Hey, big fucking dreamers. So pumped to be here with you today. And we're going to be exploring today something that actually I covered in a therapy session a few weeks ago with my therapist. And the question of, does having work-life balance make you mediocre? And I wanted to explore this topic with her because it's something that I felt pretty conflicted about, if I'm honest. And I have work-life balance for sure. If you look at my actions and behaviors, which is really, actions and behaviors are one thing and mindset is another, and your belief systems. And you ideally want both to match up. But if you have belief systems or any sort of self-sabotage going on, then at least what you want to do is try to have your actions and behaviors be more about the person that you want to be. So for me, my actions and behaviors are 100% on point with having balance. I definitely practice what I preach. I go to the gym very consistently. I sleep 7 to 8 hours a night. I rest a lot. I don't overwork. But there is still a part of me that was actually pretty conflicted about this because there's a lot of rhetoric, especially in the entrepreneurship world, that says, you should be working 10 to 12 hours a day. You should be sacrificing everything for your career. Like, this is a season where you're going to have to give it every single thing that you have, every single ounce of blood, sweat, and tears if you want to be the best and you want to succeed. And I don't believe in that at all. And I don't subscribe to that. And I've coached a lot of people with really severe illness, whether that be with cancer or in remission from cancer or autoimmune diseases or infertility or so many things that stress can wreak havoc on the body. So I don't believe that you should sacrifice everything for your career. That's not what I preach at all. However, there was still almost this nagging voice that was like, yeah, but should you be sacrificing everything? And so, I started to research this a little bit more and I found a few different articles on this. So one of them was an op-ed piece that basically, it was from this 22-year-old. His name is Emil Barr. It was published in the Wall Street Journal. And he wrote this whole article that said work-life balance will keep you mediocre. And he is a 22-year-old. He has I believe 2 companies valued at 20 million. And he basically said that this is like the prime time to work. He can sleep when he's dead. He's often sleeping 3 hours a night. But as a result, he has gained 80 pounds. He's surviving on Red Bull. He has chronic anxiety. He doesn't have any, he sacrificed a lot of his family and friends all for the cause of his career in the business. But he basically made the point that if you don't sacrifice everything, if you want balance, then you are going to stay in mediocrity. Now, I'm basically setting out to see, like, is this true or not? And there are definitely certain industries where maybe not as extreme as Emil is saying, but there are certain industries, and these are industries where they're classed greedy jobs. Now, a greedy job is, and I'm forgetting the researcher who wrote this, but she actually did win the Nobel Prize in economics for this. I believe her name's Helen. Maybe someone's probably not screaming. I'm like, someone's definitely screaming at this, but this is like economic research that I feel like not a lot of people know about. So there was a piece of research and it was really looking at greedy jobs. And what a greedy job is that you have to sacrifice basically everything in your life for your job. And usually people that have greedy jobs have some sort of system that's supporting them or sustaining them. Like they will have a husband or a wife or a family unit that can kind of take all of the load off so that they can just focus on work. In greedy jobs, what happens is you are usually paid extreme amounts for the time dedicated. So these are industries such as law, consulting, finance, and executive roles as well. You are expected to be in these types of roles and you're expected to give these hours, whether that be 16 hours a day, 14 hours a day, but you are also compensated for it. And if you can't give those hours, then you will not be in a job. there's certain industries such that are classed as such greedy jobs where, yes, balance is completely off the table. But then I'm also really interested in other types of industries such as entrepreneurship, or even if you work in tech or corporate industry, where maybe you don't have to give every single thing to every single ounce of your lifeblood, but can you still have balance and be exceptional? And I do believe that the answer is yes. And that really comes with time and dedication and specific development of a skill set. But right now, the problem I see with a lot of workplaces is that skill sets are very fragmented. You're expected to do so many things at once rather than just solely focusing on one specific skill and getting really good at it. But if you are in some type of role where you want to be particularly excellent, it's looking at how excellent can I be and what's the repetition that I can get over and over again in this one specific skill versus, I'm just trying to get good at everything all at once. And therefore, I'm just going to be amazing and I'm going to be exceptional. That likely isn't going to happen. But are there certain skill sets that you really want to narrow in on that you can really get exceptional at? And then, really, when we look at, balance, and when we look at, let's say, mediocrity and exceptionalism, what it also comes down to is like, what is your personal definition of success? And not gonna lie, there have been times where I look at my life and I've never wanted to be happy. That's really not what I was striving for a lot of years. I was striving to be exceptional. And that was what really mattered to me until I burned out at 30. And you guys know the whole story that happened after that. And I had to resign and I had to redefine my life because my health actually couldn't handle it. When I look at those greedy jobs, I couldn't physically handle a greedy job. I know that about myself. I start to get sick. I start to get depressed. I don't want to work those hours. I don't want to sacrifice everything for my career. But if you don't know that, and if you don't know what success looks like to you, then you are likely going to be lost and floating and really taking on someone else's definition of success. So, what I've also defined is that I've been doing this brand strategy and looking at my brand messaging, and I'm really excited to share it with you guys because I'm doing like not a complete brand positioning, but a sharpening. And I'm coining a term called toxic ambition and healthy ambition. And toxic ambition is, there are 5 signs of it. And one is you've objectively achieved a lot, but you still feel anxiety and self doubt and like you aren't enough. The second is you work 10 to 12 hours a day consistently, and you're consistently sacrificing, your well being, your sleep, your hobbies, your health for your career. And if I think about toxic ambition, you can strive and you can achieve really great things. But if you're completely burning yourself out, or if you have really shitty relationships, or if you don't have health backing you up, then what's it all for? And like really asking, like, what is this success really for when you are striving to be exceptional? Now, also, I'm asking myself these questions, and I have definitely been there where I think that success is, looking at success at all costs. And there was a Harvard study conducted, and it was I think it's one of the longest studies. It's an 85-year Harvard study. It's called the Harvard Study of Adult Development. What the whole study comes down to is that happiness and contentment is really built on relationships and testing the strength of your relationships. And that's pretty much it, which is very confronting because success, it almost is like it's going to fill this vacuum, going to fill this hole inside you. But really looking at what is it for and who you're trying to prove yourself to. And if we want to almost get systematic about this and looking at success, we can really break down our lives into key categories. So one is career and financial. And that's definitely, this is the wheel of life that I've spoken about before. And I did an episode with Corey Welsh on that over New Year's. So definitely listen to that if you want to go deeper into this. But looking at, okay, career and financial, how successful do you feel in that? How successful do you feel in your relationships, your health, your purpose, your autonomy, and your joy? What do your communities look like? What does your spirituality look like? So if you categorize your life into these buckets, and then you're starting to shape on what do I really feel like is the most important to me here, then you start to really get a more holistic picture. But that doesn't mean that you can't thrive if you have balance. And it doesn't mean that success needs to come at the cost of everything. And when people start to do this, when they come to me and they feel like their success is just totally dependent on their work performance, then I typically know that a lot of their self-worth and worthiness is coming from their career. And that means we need to diversify outward. So need to get different types of hobbies. And I spoke about this on last episode as well. What does your life look like just beyond your career? And it's so important to build that out. What are your interests? If you don't have any interests, then find interests. And that's really where the balance is going to start in. And there's also going to be less of a load on your career. So this question of, can you be exceptional and have balance? Yes, I believe that you can, but not at everything. And really choosing what are the one or two specific things that you want to be exceptional at. How can you get exceptional at them, whether that's skills repetition, whether that's mentorship, whether that's taking a course, whether that's exposure. There are different strategies to really be doing that, but it's going to be hard if you're only looking at that or if you're only trying to do one thing. And another way to look at this is, if you are in a season of sacrifice for your success, really looking at it consciously versus unconsciously. So understanding that if you are in this season, then then you're very specifically saying, okay, this is a 3-month period or a 6-month period where it's a sprint. But after that, I'm going to pull back in my career and then I'm going to reinvest in my relationships, or I'm going to really look at my hobbies in a different way. Versus if it's unconscious, which usually means you're just going all the time. This often happens to people in global roles as well, who have a lot of expectation on them, where they're just expected to be working all hours, to be taking calls at, all times a day, and it doesn't really slow down. Then requesting, are there actually seasons that you can be more involved in, that you can be giving more or less to? When can you give more? When can you pull back? That's what's actually going to make you a bit more successful. And then you're able to find balance a bit more. And I had a client who came to me who was really burned out and giving everything to her work and very unhappy, frankly. And when we looked at her life outside of her work, a lot of it had dried up. And this client, what used to be, so vibrant, she was an artist, she was very involved in the queer community, she was a big advocate. And we looked at, how does she invest more outside of herself? How does she start investing more in these things that she really loves? But we also did it slowly. It wasn't like, okay, now you're going to be going to an event every night or an event a week. What we just looked at is, what can you do this month? What's one single thing? What's this like one small action that you can take? And sometimes we want to almost like fire hose, whatever we're doing, and just like drench ourselves and try to be going so big, but it actually, that usually doesn't really work. So what are just the small behaviors that you can do to start to move you in the right direction to create more balance, but also to create excellence in the areas that really matter to you? So this was a short, sharp episode. Let me know what you think. Also, the Life and Work Transformation is open. We're starting April 17th. So if you want to redefine what success means to you, if you want to redefine what your life and what your career looks like to you, if you want to decrease toxic ambition and increase healthy ambition and live a life that's more fulfilling, that's more joyous, this is definitely the program for you. I'm so excited for this round. I always get really excited when a new round starts. So you can book a call. The link will be in the show notes, and I will see you soon, big fucking dreamers.
Big fucking dreams.